Good evening, Des Moines. Welcome to the N Lefty program here on webcast1live.com. Coming to you every Tuesday, because it is Tuesday and it's 6:30 to 7:30, bringing you the perspectives you love from the sides you hate. With me in the captain's seat once again, his outraged caps lock key is permanently stuck on Hulk Smash, Dr. Pat Bertroche. Doc, what's up?
Hey, not much. How was your trip? How was your trip?
My trip out of the country?
Yeah.
They almost didn't let me back, man.
Well, I wouldn't. Looking
I
like you
know,
do.
no, I know you wouldn't. But this is a true story. One of our friends who was with us, because you know this as an international man of mystery yourself.
Yes.
You know that when you're on the plane that goes into the other country, they give you the immigration document that you get stamped and then you have to keep with your passport, and you have the reentry paperwork that allows you to just go through customs, breeze through everything, and don't have to worry about it, right? Not the customs declaration piece, but the reentry piece. Well, this friend that we were with, this is true, she either lost or threw away the reentry ticket that goes with your passport. And so when we got to, we flew. No one thought anything of it. She didn't say anything to anybody. We flew from from Puerto Vallarta to Mexico City, and Mexico City into Atlanta. We get to the Mexico City terminal, and we're all pre-checking in so they can screen our passports, make sure everybody is cool. She gets up there and says, "I don't have that piece of paper." Oh, well, that's a problem. And she thought he was kidding. He said, "Oh, well, whatever. Here's my pass." No. It's really a problem. You have to go to the immigration office. She had to go all the way to the immigration office and made it back with not more than 9 minutes before final boarding. We thought we were going to leave her in Mexico City.
Goodness.
So that was the one stressful part of the trip. Everything else was great. I suppose I should probably announce that while I was in Mexico, I did get engaged.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much to my beautiful fiance, Megan, who is not listening, but that's because she
hears you the rest of the time and needs a break from it.
Oh, absolutely. You don't ask a professional masseuse to give you a back rub when you get home.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And I spew all this socialist nonsense at her 7 days a week. So,
you bet. Well, I don't. It's a very cleverly hidden ring you have right through your nose there.
Oh,
yeah. So it's cleverly hidden in there.
I'm against tattoos. It's against my non-religion, and so she made me get a piercing. No, that's not true. She didn't make me do it.
Oh my God!
No.
Not the Jack in the Box.
No, nothing
again.
nothing like that. Nothing like that.
Not
that
the Prince Albert.
No,
you should have learned your lesson on that one.
Well, I did because I could never keep the toilet seat clean. Anyway. So I know if you listen,
we're in so much trouble.
We're getting there. We have not a regular producer, but we have Ed Fallon's producer who does a fantastic job for him. She's filling in for Ryan, who's on vacation.
What's her name? Erin?
Well, it's Maddie.
Right? Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Right. So, but we really appreciate her stepping in and helping us out, and that's fantastic. So I hope that she is screening all of this nonsense that we're throwing out live into the airwaves. But
plus she's a liberal, so the more I get myself in trouble, the more she's going to broadcast it out.
No, well, that's,
and there's no such thing as bad publicity.
I would agree with that for the most part. But I know if you listen to the last week's show with our good friend Phaedra, who came on and guest hosted in a pinch, and I thought did a really great job, so shout out to her, and thank you so much, Phaedra, for helping us out. We talked the entire hour about the Hobby Lobby decision. I think that she and I kind of put that issue in its proper context. I don't know if you had any brief comments you wanted to make before we went on.
I think before you started talking about corporations or people, I think you need to step back and go, what exactly is a person?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the, not to link this to abortion, but that's part of the argument. Well, what is a person? When are you a person? And, honestly, I can see the corporation's position. No taxation without representation, right? They should have the ability to go in, have their say, have their people march to the same drummer that will help out the corporations. But I do think we need to figure out what it means to be a person, because I think it's been, not necessarily perverted over the years, but what is a person? You have a baby that is termed to be not a person, yet you have a corporation that is termed to be a person. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I think we need the basic thing from my pure perspective. I think they can have representation, the taxation and representation, but I don't believe they should be considered people. And that's sure. my issue with it.
Right, well,
and I know, and I listened to part of the argument, so I understand the legal aspects.
Yeah.
I'm just saying we should probably define what it is.
Well, I guess the one thing that I would make, just to pull it back into the decision itself, is that the Supreme Court was compelled by the evidence in the record that there was a sincere religious belief that could be ascribed to these for-profit, closely held corporations on account of the families had always been so clear about what their religious beliefs were. If we start talking about, say, religious beliefs as rights of persons for an unborn fetus, that's impossible. You would never be able to ascribe any kind of religious belief to a fetus. It would necessarily be the religious belief of the mother. And if the mother's own religious belief was that abortion is okay and that unborn fetus is not a person, well, how would you ever be able to? So that's one aspect of the rights of a person. So, but we're going way beyond what I had intended on talking about. But we can come back out of the segment and talk more about it if you want to.
And I don't want to get into it. You guys covered it pretty well, and I think Phaedra stuck up for both sides, and God bless you. You kind of sort of stuck up for different aspects.
Well, so, you heard me say that if we're going to accept the legal fiction of if we're going to accept that corporations are people and that as people they can have free speech rights through the Citizens United case, through the unlimited spending of money and religious beliefs, then you kind of have to agree with the reasoning that the court came up with, except that, and this is where a lot of folks on the liberal side and the conservative side get it wrong. The court, even though I believe this to be the case about most judicial rulings, or this how it should be, the court almost is never and should never be in the position of worrying about the outcome of a decision, because they're there to interpret the law. Brown v. Board of Education, a lot of critique of that ruling is that, hey, you were worried more about righting a historic injustice that should have been a more political writing than a judicial issue. I happen to disagree with that. I think that the court got it right. I think the court in this instance, while the logic is consistent, really got it wrong on certain other things that they never took up, like disproportionate impact, things like that. But that's neither here nor there, because what I promised during that show was that you and I would hash out convention. That was, I think, 3 weeks ago.
Well, we're going to get to that. We're coming up right to a break with about 40 seconds left. One of the topics I think that we ought to tackle next week, because, I think it was Dred Scott. Dred Scott's the one that determined that your property is your property, even if it's illegal in another state, right? So, that people can be property, yes. Yes. So I think that next week we could debate exactly how far-reaching that is, because if Dred Scott holds true,
it doesn't. It got overturned.
When did it get overturned?
I can't remember, but and maybe that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure that I think the 13th Amendment overturned it.
Is that it?
Yeah, the 13th Amendment to the Constitution overturned Dred Scott.
There goes my idea. We'll be back right after the break. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This is why I love Lefty. I have a great idea, and he likes to, shoot it down, like all lefties. I'm going to be a little heartbroken. We'll be back right after the break. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Petrosh & Associates, how can I help you?
Petrosh & Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Petrosh, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit!
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around through that first segment. You know that on this show we do a lot of what you'd call throat clearing to get ourselves into the topic at hand, and sometimes that's good, and sometimes I think that we were about to go down a rabbit hole that would have been interesting, but maybe in a different show, because I really wanted to pick your brain about what went down. I think it's not last week. It wasn't the week before. Was it the week before?
Yeah.
Or was it 3 weeks ago?
About 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago, the Republican convention.
Because you left, and I covered it a little bit about what happened.
That's right.
And because part of that was getting rid of Danny Carroll. That was part of my rant about they got rid of Danny Carroll and put in a establishment GOP, which kind of feeds into this scorched earth policy that the GOP establishment.
Well, let me set the stage. Let me set the scene for everybody. So we have the third House district where I think it was a 5-person or 6-person.
There are six people.
6 people. I don't want to forget about our good friend of the show, Joe Grandinette, at all, because he was at convention. I heard that he got to speak, and there's some heads nodding in the crowd, if I'm not mistaken about that.
Yeah, and he actually got 8 delegates, which was 7 more than I thought he'd get.
Right. Right.
Because nobody gave him any chance, and at least that's a fairly good showing for a guy who spent $500.
And it was what, 500 delegates total?
Yeah, there's 513 altogether.
513 altogether. Okay, so we have nobody got a majority of the vote. Our good friend Senator Brad Zahn from Urbandale got the plurality. I think at 26% or 24. Was it less than a quarter? It was right around a quarter.
Right at 25%.
Sure, and
Give
then
or take a couple.
And then second place, I believe was Matt Schultz. Right?
And yeah, they were all kind of in a pack, about 5-6 points behind Brad.
But then the 5th place vote getter was David Young.
And he's at 15%, something like that.
David Young goes into convention and comes out the nominee.
Yes.
And everybody else is left kind of twisting in the wind, which my take on it, I wasn't surprised, and yet I was surprised. And that's a trite tautological statement that's just silly to say, but I wasn't surprised that they went with a David Young type of guy, but I certainly was surprised that the Republicans in Iowa at convention would go with a outside the state. Didn't he make all his money in Texas? Is that David Young, or am I thinking of somebody else?
I think you're thinking of somebody else. He worked for Senator Grassley. He was Senator Grassley's chief of staff for years. And he decided he would come back here. He's also the one that, honest to goodness, every single conservative blog I read called him a carpetbagger. And I'm not quite sure he's a carpetbagger. I mean, he's from Iowa. He likes Iowa. He moved back here, wanted to make his life. So anyway.
Well, he certainly wasn't. I mean, he's billing himself now as this farm kid from Iowa, and I certainly don't think he was a farm kid from Iowa. Well, I don't think he's called it. I think he grew up in town, and he acknowledges that. But he definitely is going for that good old boy kind of vote, which a guy like Brad Zahn maybe be a little bit more authentic in delivering. So tell me, did you go to convention? What was your involvement?
I didn't go to the convention. I had some other things to do. I definitely drove past it, and it was a confetti board full of signs. Kramer must have had 1,500 signs sitting in the middle of the parkway, and it was up there at the Des Moines Christian Academy. And a lot of the blogosphere was alive. People were giving a blow by blow of what was going on, and so I was keeping track of it through several informants that I had there. I mean, I don't want to sound spooky. I mean, they're feeding me information, so they're informants. And essentially, they voted once. Joe finished last. Then they voted again. Joe finished last, and he was out. They had another vote, and I believe I can't remember who went out next. I think it was I can't remember. And then Kramer dropped out, so there was Zahn, Young, and Schultz left. They took another vote. And Schultz was at the bottom, and he dropped out. He said, well, I'm going to yield my time to Young. And Young got up there and gave a speech And essentially what they did is they made a backroom deal like they did in Chicago, right? Back in the New York was the Tammany Hall days, but, Mayor Daley's machine, same kind of thing. And essentially they said, they made a deal, Schultz and Young, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You help me get the nomination, you carry me with you, that kind of thing. And it was obvious that's what happened. And everybody threw their support behind Young. They took the final vote, and Brad lost that vote. The problem really was, like we talked about the last time, is Brad had that. I mean, Boswell attacked him mercilessly, number one, and so that's fresh in everybody's mind. And number two, Brad's not an establishment person. He just isn't. He doesn't care. I mean, how many times had he been in here talking about that?
Yep.
So now that's the background. Now, what has happened in the meantime is Cantor lost, which was a big blow. And then when they had another race where the Republican establishment went after the challenger, the Tea Party challenger, with cries of racism and encouraging Democrats to come into the open primary or the open.
Well, that's Thad Cochran did that. That's a Republican.
Yes, and as the establishment, and absolutely scorched earth any good feelings anybody's going to have down there. So essentially, what you do is you're having the Napoleon. If anybody's read Animal Farm, Napoleon the pig is now sitting at the table with the humans, right? That's exactly what's going on with the GOP. Well, Brad sits here, and I can see what he's thinking, and he posts online, people have been encouraging me to run as an independent. What do you all think? Well, I made the Des Moines Register, I think it was Friday. And essentially, the feedback was, well, geez, we don't want Stacey Apple in there. We would rather have David Young than Stacey Apple. So please don't upset the apple cart, so to speak. The second thing is, the second most frequent opinion was, go ahead and run. We're tired of the Republicans, and if the Libertarians were a viable party, we would go with them, right? And he had the Liberty Back movement. And the third most common response was, you know what? We love you as an individual. We know you do a great job. You go run and you do what you think is best. So the bottom line is about 2/3 of the vote was go get them. And about 1/3 of the vote was stay loyal to the Republican Party because they just got done screwing you, and that's what Republicans should do. Now, my opinion is if Brad wants to run as an independent candidate, he has my support. I've known him for years and years. You know him. Mm-hmm. And Lefty is one of these guys. People don't know Lefty very well. They just know Lefty doesn't trust people very easy, and he really doesn't like a lot of people. He just tells it the way it is. And Brad's one of the few guys that's been on that Lefty really hasn't gone, hey, he's an all right guy. So
I can't argue with that. What I would say that if Brad's on, got petitions, got on the ballot as an independent in this race, you can say welcome to the House of Representatives, Stacey Apple.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't think it would even be a contest at that point because every bitter, sour grapes Republican that wanted Brad Zahn in Polk County is it's going to split the vote. Yeah. They'll vote. Everybody would shift. I mean, David Young in a 3rd district primary couldn't get more than 20% of the vote in a very low turnout primary. Well, but still,
we'll come back to that point right after the break. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Before we get to our other sponsors, we'd like to thank Des Moines Anesthesia for hosting our show. Really appreciate Kent Krosky and his cohorts supporting our show, and make sure you look them up. They do have a new number in Fort Dodge, and I completely blew it. I had 20 minutes before the show and forgot to give Maddie the new number. We'll be back right after the break. Thanks for tuning in.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Metro See 'em here, see 'em there. You got bad credit, we don't care.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com. Visit emetroford.com today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. We're talking about convention. This is the breakdown that I promised last week, the doc promised the week before. We've been swapping time off here at the show. And before we went to the break, I was talking a little bit about what I thought would happen if Senator Zahn were to run as an independent. There is currently no indication that he's going to do that. Yeah, I know that you've talked to him. Has he hinted that he might be doing something like that?
Well, I talked to him a little bit, and from his perspective, he wants to be a good soldier. He's a good guy. He's been a party loyalist, even though he doesn't go along with the establishment. I mean, there's a difference between being loyal to your party and being loyal to the overlords. And the thing has happened is that there's been such a snapback from the Republican establishment against the grassroots people. I mean, it's
not in Virginia.
Well, no, not necessarily, but Virginia was the when everybody stopped and went, "Hey, we got to stop this." So, the thing is Brad doesn't, don't get me wrong. I'm sure he's hurt by this. I'm sure how it went down was something that, it's not necessarily illegal, but it certainly is underhanded. We already know how Schultz, is going to operate if he made it out there. And apparently Young and Schultz are going to operate the same way. Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Let's get out there. Now, the other thing to keep in mind is legitimately Kramer and Young were the second choices in a lot of people's minds, right? They would vote for Schultz or vote for Brad. And then their second choices would be Young or Kramer. So, oftentimes in these things, the second choice, wins. So I'm sure Brad is sitting there, and I'm sure a lot of his supporters are trying to encourage him to run. Now, I think that I agree with your assessment. If Brad wins, Stacey Apple's going to be our representative.
If he runs.
Right. Now, the trick is she's only going to be representative for 2 years. That's it, because the 3rd congressional district is so conservative that, and I know we have Des Moines, I know we have Council Bluffs, but really, there's a lot of people that are really conservative.
Let me ask you this question. Iowa went for Obama twice, and it wasn't even close. And when the final votes came out, it wasn't even close. And yet, there is this kind of opinion in the ether that Iowa has conservative House districts. Now, you talk about the 3rd district being conservative, and it certainly is the toss-up, one of the big toss-up districts in the country that both parties really want to nail down. They really, if the Democrats are looking towards 2016 as a possible take-back for the House, they need to win the 3rd this year. That's absolutely. And I don't think anybody's really projecting that, because how the districts are drawn now, it's going to be so difficult around the country for Democrats to win some of those Republican seats. But this is certainly one of them if that's the short-term plan. And I'm curious, because I feel like there's still more energy in the cities if in presidential elections too. And refresh my memory, did George Bush win in 2004? Did they win Iowa? I think he did.
Yeah.
But in the last two,
but it was close. I mean, but
Gore won in 2000.
Yes.
Yeah. So Iowa's been in the presidential race. Iowa's been a Democratic state 3 out of the last 4 times.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I'm wondering, where is all this conservative conservative feelings about the House districts if the whole state is going Democratic?
Well, Iowa's always been a little bit split in its personality. I mean, they elected, one of the most hardcore liberals and the most hardcore conservative out there for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're kind of split that way. One of the things that happens is, and especially talking to these guys before this last election, all these prognosticators, Dick Morris, who's the other guy? Roger Ailes, the guy that ran Bush's campaign in Texas,
Karl Rove, who were all wrong.
They were all wrong. And I told them all directly, you guys are wrong. You guys don't understand the new demographic. Now, the trick is, and I'm going to inject race here because everybody avoids it, but you have a president that not only could motivate his liberal base, he can motivate people who think, it's just the system, nobody wants, and to go vote for him. He can motivate the blacks and some of the Hispanics to go vote for him. And they showed up en masse. And the problem is the conservative voters stayed home, especially when it came to Mitt Romney. Conservatives had had enough of big spending George Bush, and they had had enough of, there's Mitt Romney and his new paradigm of let's just do Obamacare light over here, and they were tired of John McCain. Here's the trick. The Republicans, the conservative Republicans, are so disgusted with the system they stayed home. Now, how this plays out in this district is if David Young went nowhere in the Senate race, nowhere. He got up there, he was over at Jalapeno Pete's, he gets up there and he says, well, I'm not going to agree to term limits. Why would I do that? That's not how Washington works. I mean, I have it on my phone. I have it right here. And everybody else is getting up there. Matt Whitaker says, yeah, I think two terms is good. Joni Ernst said 2 terms is good. Sam Clovis says, I think 3 terms is adequate because we have that many problems, but I'll go 2 terms. I'll make a pledge, whatever. So the bottom line is David Young never gained any traction among any conservatives because he said, well, I know how the game's played and I'm going to go out there and play the game for us. That doesn't wash in conservative circles. He did the same thing on the campaign trail. And don't get me wrong. I mean, Senator Grassley's, kind of sort of endorsement of him is always going to help. But the bottom line is people look at him and go, because you could see our Jalapeno Pete's when he got up there and started talking about how government works and how he was going to use his knowledge of how to manipulate the laws and everything else to Iowans' benefit. You could see the entire crowd going, that isn't what we want.
Yep.
We want somebody to go in there, scrap the entire system, and start over and start listening to the people.
Which is completely unrealistic from a first-term representative.
But this is when he was running for Senate.
Oh,
and
sure.
Yes.
Well, a freshman senator, even worse.
Yeah. So it's unrealistic, but he was up there going like, well, hold on, there's practical realities. And I get that there's practical realities, but you don't say that. And then you don't say, I'm not going to accept, I'm going to stay in there as long as I can. I don't want term limits. That sucks. I want to stay in there a long time. That's the message he sent. Well, that hasn't been able to get any play. Now, he had a great commercial. That didn't give him any bump either. So, like that whole thing, I said all that to set up this next line. A lot of conservatives are going to sit home in this election. The people I talk to are all like, how in the world did a 5th place guy get there?
Yep.
Honest to goodness, they'd rather vote for Schultz because at least they know Schultz. Right? At least he did what he said he was going to do. Well, hold on. From a conservative viewpoint, voter ID is a big deal, right?
Yep.
So I think a lot of these people are going to be staying home. Now we're going to get back to whatever Lefty's chewing to say right after this break. We want to thank everybody for tuning in. We want to thank all of our sponsors, Halo Capital, Lubinas Law Firm, Petrosian Associates, as well as Des Moines Anesthesia. We'll be back right after this break. And we also want to thank Maddie for doing a great job behind the producer's curtain back there.
On the 1s and the 2s.
Yes.
Petrosian Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Petrosh, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults, including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at bertroshandassociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertrosh and Associates.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Boy, you know, I say it every show, but the first half hour always flies by, especially when I got my good buddy across the table from me talking about everything that all the things we like to talk about, why peanut butter is great, why Republicans are dumb, and why the United States is the best country in the world.
Republicans are brilliant.
No, well, here's
and pragmatic realists.
Yeah, I would say so. They're definitely pragmatic realists. But I guess this is my thought about the 3rd district race. And I want to hear what you have to think about it. Because a quick horse race prediction. Who do you think wins at the general?
The general election between who?
David Young and Stacey Apple.
Really.
No, just knee-jerk gut reaction. David Young or Stacey Apple?
I think it's Stacey Apple.
Okay. I agree with you, and here's why. Right now in Iowa, especially in the 3rd district, that has become so split between the rural and the urban. Every district in Iowa is split that way, but none more so in the 3rd district, because the 3rd district has Des Moines and all of the bigger towns, the suburbs around Des Moines, plus all of the rural stuff south and west of Des Moines. So the Republicans have kind of an impossible quandary to solve. Either they pick the establishment guy that so infuriates the more hardcore conservative, the faith folks, the liberty folks, all those other people, so infuriates where the energy is, that the energy stays home, the Democrats win. Or they pick somebody who's more on the extreme right side that fires up the more hardcore conservatives where all the energy is. The energy comes out and votes, and it so freaks out the moderates and the independents that the moderates and independents vote Democratic. See, the independents in Iowa, they don't stay home the way that the party faithful do.
I agree 100%.
Hardcore conservatives stay home if they're not happy. Hardcore liberals stay home if they're not happy. The independents always vote, and the independents and you see this in race after race around the country. So I'm not just talking about Iowa specifically, where when the really intense conservative is elected, the Democrats do a good enough job of making that person so scary to independents, because the Democrats aren't going to vote for him anyway, making them so unpalatable and so scary to independents that the Democrat prevails. They pick up all those loose votes. So in Iowa, what is needed is a Republican candidate that can appeal to everybody. And the party is so split right now that I don't believe that person exists. Except, I think Joni Ernst could be that person. Joni Ernst has come out after winning the primary hands down and not done hardly anything. She's making the rounds. She's doing some fundraising because she has to. Bruce Braley's got a lot of money, but hadn't put out any more cute ads. And by cute, I mean wink and a nod, sort of, here's my gun ad, here's my pork ad, waiting for the next, here's my sort of cute anti-Obamacare ad, whatever. But she's got, I think she's got a lot of PACs advertising for her. I've seen no less than 5 Joni Ernst or anti-Braley, I should say, because they're anti-Bruce Braley from the Super PACs ads on Pandora and Hulu. So they're hitting those pretty hard right now, but nothing from her.
And on YouTube.
And on YouTube too, yeah. But nothing directly from her.
Nope.
She's been pretty quiet. No sound bites, no real interviews, not taking any hard stances. And you know what? She's right to do it. Yeah. Because Bruce Braley, who I still think I think he's the guy to beat still. I think it's his, let me put it this way. I think it's his election to lose. And by golly, he's doing a good job of losing this election, because he, in a few statements that I don't think will hurt him by November, but certainly aren't good right now, has come off as arrogant, has come off as entitled, and it's come off as a little out of touch. And so all Joni Ernst needs to do is sit back and when your opponent is doing the work for you, why risk putting your foot in your mouth?
Yep. Just be quiet.
Just be quiet. Let them do the work. And I think that's and I think she's smart to do it that way. And if she continues to run that sort of go along, get along, let Bruce Braley blow up Bruce Braley, she's going to win.
Yeah.
However, I think that he'll right the ship. Bruce Braley didn't get to where he was by being an idiot.
No.
I think he'll right the ship. But I think that out of anybody that is that's running in all of the generals for the Republicans around Iowa, I think Joni Ernst is the one who has the best shot of the conservatives love her and the moderates aren't scared of her. And that could be the only way a Republican could win a statewide election in Iowa at this point.
Well, but let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Young, he's one of the least offensive people out there.
He's a nice guy.
That's how he's been described. Yeah, he's a great guy. So he was selected. Do you think he's got the moxie, the little that we know of him, because he hasn't come on the show? We've asked him. We've asked everybody to come on the show, and only a couple have come on.
We don't have enough pull.
I don't.
We don't have enough pull. We need more pull.
Yes.
So viewers, if you've got pull, you could lend us or just give us. We would be okay with it.
Yes, we need some.
Yeah.
It would be like this. It would be a redistribution of pull.
Yes.
How's that?
Hey,
they would like that.
I like any redistribution plan that has me getting the larger portion.
Well, see, and that's the problem with. Anyway, we won't even get into the communists sitting across from me over here.
Love it.
But do you think David Young's got the moxie to sit there and court those conservatives back to his side?
Well,
because there is a lot of hostility out here, and in fact, right after the convention, I get at least a text from my brother Joe, and I didn't. And I must have 4 different texts from different people, including my brother Joe, who said after Brad Zahn got screwed, and my brother's not even in the district. After Brad Zahn got screwed, and what happened down with Thad Cochran, they officially went and registered as independents. I have 4 text messages.
Your brother's an independent now.
An independent now, and this is what's happening. This is the kind of anger that the Republican core conservative base has. And remember, we keep talking about the 3 splits in the you have the conservative fiscals who are going like, this is BS. You have the libertarians going, they're acting like children going, this is crap. And you have the Christian conservatives going, we don't like this either. So the 3 branches that they need to hold together have officially gone on you, at least here in Iowa. Anyway, do you think he's got enough moxie to pull the conservatives back in?
I don't know. I don't know enough about him. Certainly haven't listened to enough of his. I mean, from his speeches, he sounds like a typical cookie cutter, just fresh out of the box politician, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't. When he talks about the things he wants to do, I don't get the sense from how he speaks. Like how you hear Sam Clovis. Now, Sam Clovis had a lot of problems. He wasn't going to get elected in the primary, but when he spoke, you sort of felt it was coming from some place in his gut or in his heart.
He could really draw you in.
I don't feel like David Young has that skill, and I think that he's I kind of feel like he's, and this maybe sound like a backhanded endorsement. I feel he might be a little bit more of a technocratic kind of guy who wants to get in and solve problems. The exact sort of politician you'd want to run for your party if you were a sane party. I don't think the Republicans are a sane party anymore. But I think he'll give it his best shot because he has to win. I don't think he's going to get anywhere for 2 reasons. One, the hardcore conservative base of the Republican Party in Iowa they're not realistic when it comes to electoral politics because, and there's the second reason, and they tie together, they vote principle only. I am not sitting here saying, and I would never say, and I'd argue with you forever, that liberals don't have principles. Of course they do. That's why you hate them, because you hate their principles, right? But the liberal person...
I hate their hypocrisy.
The liberal person will have his principles, and he'll say, like, for example, in 2008, I caucused for Hillary Clinton when she ran against Barack Obama because I believed that Hillary Clinton was the right person for the job, and this guy from Illinois, I didn't think had any kind of appreciable experience or credibility in running for president, right? I made those arguments at caucus. but I turned around and voted for him in general. I didn't sit on my hands because, as a liberal, my view is principles are great. They guide your decisions, but you need to be able to affect real-world policy, so you vote the most practical way possible.
Yeah, and
hardcore conservatives do not do that because where the liberal never says, I'm right, so pound sand, the conservative says, I'm right, therefore everything else must be wrong. I'm not going to participate in something that's wrong. I'm going to stay home, and they lose election after election because of it.
Well, and I disagree in part with what you said, obviously. We got coming up to a break. We'll be back right after this. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. So, Doc was about to inform you guys about why I'm so wrong about my assessment of the Republican Party, and we're not going to let him do that. Instead, no, just kidding. Go ahead.
Right. No, now I agree. I agree with Lefty's assessment of the Republicans. Republicans will stay home. The conservatives are sick and tired of being, treated like second-class citizens. The base. It's like I was explaining. I should have saved this part for this, but I was explaining to Lefty. It'd be like your establishment candidate from the liberal side gets up there and he's campaigning and he says, "Yes, I want abortion on demand for everybody, and I want all these, and I want people to get married who are gay." And then he gets to Congress and he votes against everything he just said. That's the problem. That's what's happening in the Republican Party. There's in fact, I'm going to write a blog about all the things congressmen and senators do that are completely immoral, even though it's not illegal. That's my blog for this week. But the bottom line is they get up there, they get the good life going, and they just all collude together. That's the GOP establishment and the Democratic establishment. And when I first started doing the show with Lefty, I was a Republican. I was pretty diehard. I was disappointed in a lot of things George Bush did. There's a guy named John Thompson, and I'm on there and I'm arguing with him. And then finally I do my thing of like, you're thinking like all liberals. He goes, "I'm not a Democrat." And I said, "Well, you don't have to be a Democrat, be liberal." He goes, "No, I'm not a liberal either. What I'm trying to say is both parties are exactly the same." And I thought to myself, that's not true. We stand for this. We stand for that. I ran for Congress. I figured out, nope, John was right. John is right. They stand for exactly the same thing. None of it has to do for we the people. All has to do with maintaining power. We want to make deals and we want to keep our people in. And the liberals do it and the Republicans do it. And that's why the conservative base is going. That's why Ted Cruz had such a popular upswelling in the conservative growth. The establishment got mad at him. The conservatives went, finally, somebody who's willing to do something, right? I mean, and that's exactly what happened.
Even if what he did didn't matter and didn't mean anything, and he's pandering to everybody, and he's not an honest person, whatever. What I want to understand from what you just said, because this is what's so stupid about the country right now. I agree that between the Republican and Democratic candidate in a lot of these races around the country, maybe not so much in Iowa, because I think that we grow a better crop of people here in Iowa than they do other places in the U.S. But if the Republicans and the Democrats are functionally the same, then why aren't we getting a darn thing done in Washington, D.C.? If they want the same things and they basically have the same ideology, that is to maintain power, then why paralyze legislation that needs to happen. Why is John Boehner the quintessential, the definition, the fundamental, if you can call him a fundamentalist anything, he's a fundamentalist party guy. You don't become Speaker of the House unless you are a establishment, gut-wrenching, go-along conservative. That's the only way you'd be able to court that much support. Why is he standing in the way of everything that Barack Obama wants to do if they basically all want the same thing and it's to stay in power?
Well, because if he doesn't, then his people back home vote him out. He can't be blatant about it. And that's what it is. Plus, if you paralyze the government, everybody gets blamed, and
that's a good point.
Plus, you can blame the president.
That's a good point. Everyone, he's right now. You're right. Of course I'm right. I'm conservative. Let's. What do you think about this analogy? Based on popularity ratings, the Congress is in the mud, and they're based just 7%. On the numbers. Not perception, but just on the numbers. Congress is in the mud, and the Republicans are nostrils poking through in the mud. Yes. They're barely surviving right now. So what's the best way to dirty up the guy up top? That's Barack Obama, whose popularity has waned, but it's still way higher than Congress's. You pull him down in the mud. Everybody shares the blame equally. Power is maintained. The status quo prevails.
There you go.
Yep.
See, and that's
pretty sickening.
Yeah, and this is why the Republican base wants them out. Now, I have an interesting question. Do you think knowing Brad the way you do you think that not only could he motivate the conservative base, which I'm sure he could, but do you think he could have reached out? Do you think he could have brought more independence in?
Do you think that he would have been that guy to create consensus?
Yeah. Do you think so?
No, and not for any failure of his in trying. Yeah, I know Brad a little bit personally. I like the guy to talk to. I just feel like there's a couple of practical problems, not necessarily his politics, because I think that his politics and his record is problematic for winning over moderates and independents in this district. But he had so much more baggage, not just because I think that the Democratic machine knows how to beat Brad's on. I think they do, because they've done it before. But they've done it before. It's much harder to win your second race after you've lost your first one. John Edwards is a good example of that.
Yeah, well, but Newt Gingrich, he ran 3 times. And, there's a lot of people who run several times and win.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I want to touch on real quick before we take a break, the scorched earth policy that the Republicans have done.
Oh, Danny Carroll. Yes. Yeah.
Danny Carroll, getting rid of him alienated a lot of the base. And then the people that took back over, Kaufman is one of them, essentially said, there's nothing to reach out to Danny Carroll about. He's out, we're in, we're going to run this show. That isn't the way to do it. And then, secondly, remember when Bush won and the Clintons, wouldn't give him the passwords and tore stuff up in the White House and all that? The same thing's happening over at RPI. They're not giving them the passcodes or the usernames or anything like that. Nothing's getting done over there because they're having to go back and redo everything. So, you have a lot of anger at the establishment from your 3 main focuses. And it's just ridiculous. Danny Carroll was a good man, represented the Christian conservatives, and was fair to everybody. And they got rid of him. And what does that tell you? Especially with Thad Cochran, essentially going, we're going to reach out to the people that we don't represent at all and ask them to stop the Tea Party for us, right? That tells you exactly how weak your base is. We're going to be back right after the break. We're going to continue to talk a little bit about Democratic demagoguery along with the rest of the GOP scorched earth policy. We'll be back right after the break. I want to thank everybody for tuning in.
Bertroche and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. We are proud to work with military personnel and their families. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Bertroche, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere. Our licensed mental health therapists provide individual counseling to children, adolescents, and adults including couples and marital counseling. Visit our website at BertrosAndAssociates.com for more information or call 515-334-9484. Our offices are located at 5525 Meredith Drive in Des Moines, just east of Skate North off Merle Hay Road. Isn't it time to talk to someone? Take care of yourself and your family. Contact Bertrosh and Associates.
Hey, everybody. We're here with in the last, 10, 12 minutes of the show. And, I love talking scorched earth Republican politics. It's so great because it makes me really feel like the country is putting you guys kind of on your rear ends a little bit. That the country is moving in a direction that the Republicans don't like. And like everything else, they're out in the wilderness. They don't have an identity. They have no real direction. No leadership, no appreciable leadership, because everybody's fighting for leadership right now, and are willing to kind of eat their own, which is exactly how the Democrats were in the 70s and the early 80s. And and you wonder to yourself, how bad is it going to get before it starts getting better? And they only had Danny Carroll in that seat for what, a day?
It's like 2 months. It's like the guy AJ Spiker retired, and it kind of
ran out on a rail.
Yes, to go work for Rand Paul.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
worked for Rand Paul. Steve Bierfeld was kind of there. Danny Carroll was trying, and the excuse that they used is, well, Danny Carroll can't raise money. He's been in there 2 months. You got to give him a chance to raise some money. And the reason why, two things, and I was talking to Dr. Heeb about this. And you've met her.
No, I have not. Both times she's on the show, I was out of town.
Yeah. Well, her big thing is, and this is what I know, people that are more moderate do not give money. They just don't. And libertarians are about half Republican and half Democrat. And they don't give money. It doesn't matter what it is. So here she is running on a libertarian ticket. Nobody's giving her money. That's just libertarians. They don't. Either they're spending it all on pot or something else like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or getting pot passed legally.
Yes, please.
So the bottom line is they don't give money. Well, here's AJ Spiker. He gets in there, immediately alienates the Christian conservatives, who are the ones with money, and then he alienates the fiscal conservatives, also people with money. So now nobody wants to give money. They just collapse. Now, keep in mind, Will Rogers, who's head of the Polk County GOP, has a co-chairman. There for a while, the guy was really unpopular, the co-chairman, and finally he left. Didn't affect GOP fundraising at all. You know why? Neither one of them alienated their base in here in Polk County. And I will tell you, RPI money base is Polk County. So everybody switched from giving to RPI to giving to the Polk County. So the bottom line is you give this guy, the conservative, and the person who's maddest about this is Steve Deace. I'm going to say arguably the most important and influential conservative voice out there. And in my opinion, influences more people than Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity. All right. His numbers are just outrageous. He's always adding, he gets on there on his show and say, listen, they're hamstringing our own party here in Iowa. We're supposed to be the leadership. So the bottom line is, you have the conservatives just going, we're done. We're done. And especially with the Thad Cochran thing, I don't think he's going to win. I think that they have alienated enough of those people there that they're not going to vote for him. This is just completely unfair. And I think this is going to start happening all over the country. I do. You're going to have a lot of people sitting home, and people talk about, like the Todd Akin affair. You know what? If the conservatives would have rallied behind Todd Akin going, listen, we don't agree with the way he said it, and we think he said something dumb, but he's our candidate, and I think we ought to, he represents a lot of good things, it would have been a lot different. Think about when the Democrats, and we're getting into demagoguery now, when they say something inane and they say something dumb, you don't hear a single liberal voice out there talking about Bruce Braley and how he viciously attacked one of our elder statesmen.
Viciously?
Right? Viciously attacked. Viciously.
He didn't say anything. He didn't say anything untrue.
What, that he's not a lawyer? It's the way he said it. It's just like 47% with Mitt Romney.
Mm-hmm.
Or corporations are people too. Much more vicious than that. But you don't hear a single liberal say anything like that. When Robert Byrd said the N-word, everybody said, hey, you can't say that. And he goes, all right, you're right. I'm sorry. And it goes away. Everybody forgives him on the left. That's the difference. On the right, we eat our young. And the bottom line is we shouldn't. We should be behind these people. We can't be running from the media. We have to stand up and say, hey, listen, everybody's going to make a mistake. I mean, Obama says that all the time. He's always blaming everybody else, you know? And I love it on Facebook when they're talking about some terrible thing. I just put on there, I blame Bush, because that's what the liberals do. So the bottom line is the Republicans don't support our people. We don't. They make a mistake, we toss them out. And because Todd Aiken came surging back, if he'd had the support of the establishment, I think he would have won.
I guess I would say that if we're going to use Todd Aiken as an example.
Well, he's just one example.
Let's use him as an example. The kind of mistake he made is not one that you generally come back from.
Saying the N-word is one you can't come back from?
Well,
so you're telling me that he gets up there and tries to say something that, that is historically accurate. It's just he phrased it poorly. And versus Robert Byrd, who says the N-word, plus others that use the N-word.
Amen.
And then Harry Reid going, well, geez, Obama, he's black and articulate. Goodness.
Yeah,
so you're telling me,
and Harry Reid got pilloried for that.
But he's still in office, and he might have gotten pilloried, but it wasn't from the left. It was from the right.
No, it was from the left.
I don't. Yeah,
yeah, it was. It really was, because that was one of the.
But they got behind him and supported him anyway.
Because Hillary hated it when he said that, because it gave the Obama campaign all kinds of street cred when it came to the establishment. Like, look at these establishment guys. Hillary Clinton's a Hillary Reid person. Yeah. They in the primary they put that, because that's when he said it. They put it in the primary. The thing is, it's one thing to make a really something really stupid and offensive while trying to give a compliment. That makes you tone deaf and dumb. Todd Aiken wasn't trying to give women who were victims of rape a compliment. He was saying something that was you can't parse rape. That's the whole point. He shouldn't have said anything at all, because whenever something like rape is involved, you say, you know what, rape's bad no matter what. You don't try and give it nuance with an abortion critique. That's a ridiculous, idiotic attempt to. You can't win that argument ever. So that's when I say it's a mistake he can't come back from. It's a mistake no one can come back from. If I'm trying to make rape a nuanced thing, I lose every time.
I'm going to argue with you there. Robert Byrd.
When did he say this?
Well,
it was like 40 years ago.
It wasn't. No, I'm talking about. He sat there. Used the term. He was sitting there talking about white N-words, and he said it more than once. If a Republican had said that, it'd been the end of his career, and out the door he goes, and everybody would have censored him out. But it was Robert Byrd, and he's a liberal, and everybody went, all right, if you apologize, we'll let it go. Same with Harry Reid. Oh, if you apologize, we'll let it go. That would never, ever happen on the Republican side. This is my point. I agree with you can't nuance rape. I agree with that. People screw stuff up. He was trying to say, listen, I understand being raped is a terrible thing, but you can't compound one terrible act with another terrible act.
That's not what he's trying to say. He was trying to say that biologically women can't get pregnant from rape. That's what he's trying to say.
Well, that's what he said, but that isn't what his intention was. He tried to go back several times and clear it up. Nobody listened. You know,
because he was done.
No, and that's my point.
He was done.
The Republicans would have circled up the wagons around him, he wouldn't have been done, and we would have been able to take that seat. That's my point. If a Democrat says something dumb, which Joe Biden says it all the time, everybody rallies around and go, oh, he's a doddering old man. If somebody else says something dumb, let's say George Bush, he's pilloried over and over and over.
You mean two-term President George Bush?
Yes, but he's pilloried over and over.
Who started two wars?
Well, and the good thing, and I'm just going to throw this out again, Iraq is now Obama's war. That's the end of it. There you go.
Well, that's completely 100%
I
wrong.
just
But
we had to end it. I had to end it on something.
we're
positive.
almost at the end. So
Anyway,
we
I want to thank Maddie for helping us out.
absolutely.
And I want to thank Lefty for being back. I haven't had my blood pressure go up like this in 2 weeks.
Oh, thank you for being back.
Feels
It's too much kumbaya and hand holding. We can do that stuff in our spare time. This is
real stuff here.
That's right.
This is real.
That's
stuff.
right.
Anyway, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. We want to thank all of our sponsors: Halo Capital, Lubinas Law Firm, Petrosian Associates, Des Moines Anesthesia, and we'd like to thank our future sponsors, whoever they may be.
Yes,
we need some.
We love you guys.
We do. We appreciate it all. We'll be back next week. We're going to be, I don't quite know what the conversation is going to be about, but it'll be interesting. And hopefully we'll get after each other a little bit early. So
long, everybody.
All right. But good night.
Hi, I'm Representative Tom Shaw, and I love these guys. Both of them.
Love these guys. Get over here. Love both of them.